Hey, you good?
Hello, hi Brian, Flavia. Speaking.
Hi, how are you, Flavian? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. First of all, thanks for the film. And it's a big entrance, but like I personally, I always say that the way that we Western society deal with trauma and also grief, in fact, it feels for me always like someone cut our leg and asking us to keep on running. I
Right.
always say this about the way we deal with. When I saw the film, it was really moving for me because it was like the metaphor, like
Yeah.
on the video. So how did you approach this subject for you? How was it?
It's pretty amazing that you said that because I've been using the metaphor of phantom limb syndrome. So like when a person, it comes to an amputee, they call this thing called phantom limb where they really believe that their limb is still there.
Yeah.
Like you still reach for it, you still kind of feel the tingles of it, things like that. And I, in essence, feel like grief is like a phantom limb because when you lose a person, you are still moving through life sometimes as if though they're still there, either by keeping certain relics of theirs, either by like, picking up the phone and calling them like they're still there, like you're still trying to navigate how to move through life in a normal way. Um, After suffering such a great loss, the permanence of that loss, right? Like when you lose your limb, it's not just going to grow back. And when you lose a person, they're not just going to appear again. And so we find our characters in this movie essentially going through their own phantom limb existence. You're dealing with Lindsay coming back from a war and suffering a head injury that has completely changed her life, but then she's going back home to whatever that is that she is estranged. And then you have James, who suffered a great loss as well but stayed home and never left. And so I'm always fascinated by how we as people approach grief. Every culture has their own way of how they approach grief, and but the thing that connects us all is that there's a loss, there's a pain, there is a yearning for something more, and there's always this kind of thing, this blinding thing of feeling like you're never going to get to the other side of it. And so what we wanted this film to kind of serve as is like a bit of a guide to show that sometimes you don't have to keep covering up the cracks, and you can sometimes let that stuff pour through and know that somebody else is either going through the same thing, either sees you going through that. There's a connection that can happen beyond all that. And I think that that's what our two characters, Lindsay and James, essentially discover in each other, is that they are not martyrs to their grief. They can actually connect with someone on a human level.
I love the way you explain it because if we don't face the grief or the pain, we never recover, isn't it? Like it's so
Right.
simple, but sometimes the simple thing is the difficult one, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
and the friendship, it's a beautiful friendship, isn't it? How
Yeah.
friendship is important,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's in its own way a physical therapy, right? Like it's in its own way that and it sometimes is more beneficial than actually going to because you're like, oh, there's somebody who sees me no matter what. I don't feel like I have to hide this anymore. And also, I'm not just my grief. There's so much more to me. I'm a person that likes to get a burger. I'm a person that likes to, sit in the park and talk about things. And I think that is in essence what we see, because we see Lindsay starting with her life shifting of going to these different doctors and being told what she can no longer do and how she has to like start from scratch, and then she meets this other person who had to do the same thing at one point in his life, but is also there to show her that there is a sense of normalcy because we can create a friendship beyond whatever all these things are in your life. And I hope that resonates with audiences. I hope that audiences take away that element of connection when they see the movie.
Yeah, sure it will. And sorry I have to wrap, but I agree with you. Everybody deals with grief and
Yeah.
everybody needs a friend, and it's a very intimate and still film, which I really like.
Thank
I
you. Thank
thank
you.
you.
It was a
And
pleasure.
pleasure and obrigada from Brazil.
Obrigado. Okay, take care.